Hey everyone, welcome to Voiceverse Productions. I'm your narrator, Professor Audios, and I'm thrilled to bring you the premiere episode of To the Top, an electrifying crossover fanfic between Pokemon and My Hero Academia. On this channel, we specialize in immersive storytelling that blends the best of both worlds. Get ready for an adventure like no other, where dreams collide and new paths are forged. Whether you're a Pokemon master or a hero in training, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. In today's video, join Izuku Midoriya as he embarks on a journey to become the world's greatest Pokemon trainer. But when fate intervenes with a mysterious encounter, Izuku's journey takes an unexpected turn. With a newfound Pokemon companion by his side, Izuku sets out to conquer new heights and reach for the top. Without further ado, let's dive into To the Top and witness the fusion of two legendary universes. Anyway, here we go. Beep beep, beep beep, beep beep. Beep beep, beep beep, beep beep, ugh. Beep, beep, beep beep, beep slam, XXXXXXXXX. Izuku. Huh? Izuku slowly opened his eyes, blinking rapidly as his eyes adjusted to the light that flooded his room from his window. Izuku, wake up, you're late for when they give out the starters, he heard his mother shout from downstairs. It took a few seconds for Izuku's tired brain to register what his mother was saying, but when he finally did, his eyes went as wide as dinner plates and he immediately jolted up and looked at his Golurk alarm clock. 9 o'clock, an hour late. Panic filled Izuku's mind and body, as he quickly jumped out of bed to start getting dressed. Oh no, oh no, oh no, Izuku shouted as he moved as quickly as he could, taking off his pajamas and put on some real clothes. I must have accidentally pressed snooze on my alarm clock without realizing it. It took him about 2 minutes to finally get dressed, as he ran out of his room and down the stairs to his house where his mother was waiting. Izuku, what happened? Inko asked him worriedly as she saw her son rush for the door. I overslept. Have to go. Izuku opened the door and ran out, making his way towards Professor Nezu's lab. Today was possibly the most important day of Izuku's life, as well as the most important day of many other 15-year-olds' lives. Starter Day. It was traditional in Takoba Town, as well as many other towns and cities in the Musatafa region, that when a child reaches 15, they would be given a Pokemon, and some would go on a Pokemon journey across the region. Izuku was so excited about it, that he really couldn't sleep at all the night before, leading to him waking up an hour late. It took about 20 minutes for Izuku to reach the lab. The crowd of kids that would usually be seen around the lab waiting for their starters was nowhere to be seen. Professor, Izuku shouted as he ran into the lab. When he finally came to a stop, he started breathing heavily, exhausted after non-stop running for 20 minutes. I'm here. Izuku looked around the entrance of the lab. No one was there. Izuku, you're late. From the back door of the homey white lab, came a Pikachu that talked. And was wearing a suit. The Pikachu, or rather, Nezu, walked up to Izuku, holding a cup of tea that was appropriate to his size. I know, I'm so sorry, Izuku bowed apologetically to the Pokemon professor. I got too excited the night before, and I stayed up too late so I overslept. Please forgive my tardiness. Well, unfortunately, while I do forgive your tardiness, there will be consequences nonetheless, Nezu revealed. You see, we've run out of starters. Izuku felt his heart sink to his stomach, and all the excited, positive energy immediately drained out of him. Oh. He had had a bad feeling that was the case when he woke up late, but it was still crushing to hear. Now don't despair. All you have to do is wait for us to obtain more. This could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months, but you will get your starter, Nezu reassured him. You just need to have patience. Right, sorry, sir, Izuku sighed, still slumped over dejectedly. I'll go home now. Sorry for wasting your time. When Izuku left, Nezu sighed and took a sip of his tea. Poor boy. At least when he does get his starter, I know he'll do well as a trainer. Now, back to those strange readings. Meanwhile, Izuku walked back home in a slump. The disappointment was very visible on his face. 2 months. I have to wait 2 months. That means I'm gonna be 2 months behind the Pokemon League Challenge, Izuku thought. The Pokemon League Challenge, the event that every trainer worth their salt wanted to attend. A tournament that could only be attended by those who had traveled the region and won every gym badge, and the winner got the chance to take on the Elite Four, and then the champion to take the title for themselves. It had been Izuku's dream to take on the tournament since he was little, and he'd been eagerly awaiting today for most of his life. And he'd blown it, so now he'd have to wait even longer. Great going, Deku, Izuku chided himself. Kaken's gunner. Deku, shouted an all-too-familiar voice. Oh no, Izuku winced. As Izuku was walking through the fall town, he was so dejected and sad that he didn't notice he'd walked past the house of one Bakugo Katsuki, who was just leaving. Where the fuck were you when we were getting the fucking starters? Bakugo shouted at Izuku. Kaken, you see I was late, Izuku admitted sheepishly. You what? Bakugo shouted, getting up in his face to really hammer in his anger. Yeah, I messed up, Izuku sighed. Now I have to wait 2 months before I can get a starter. TCH, whatever. Bakugo backed up a bit, still glaring at Izuku like he always did. Not like it'd make a difference. 2-month gap or not, I still would have kicked your ass. Bakugo then stepped back and took out a Pokeball before releasing the Pokemon inside. Cha! Out of the Pokeball came a Charmander. Wow, is that a Charmander? Izuku asked, admiring the Pokemon in front of him. No, it's a fucking Cyndaquil, Bakugo shouted sarcastically. Of course it's a fucking Charmander. Cha! The Charmander noticed Izuku admiring it, and struck a proud pose. Man, don't look so fucking pleased with yourself. Deku would do that to any fucking Pokemon. Bakugo scowled, before returning Charmander back into the ball. So you really are gonna be a fire-type specialist, Izuku said, looking at Bakugo ecstatically. Fucking duh, Bakugo rolled his eyes. I told you that shit years ago. Type specialist. In the world of Pokemon, some people simply felt attuned to a certain type as opposed to others. As such, these people would only catch one type of Pokemon. Type specialists are incredibly common, and most gym leaders and Elite Four members have been type specialists. Well, I'm gonna get back to training. I don't want to waste time talking to a worthless idiot like you. Bakugo huffed, as he turned away, and walked back into his house. Izuku sighed. It was nice talking to you too, Kaken. Just as Izuku was about to walk back home, he heard something. Woo! He heard cheers coming from the middle of town. Izuku turned towards the noise. What's that? Deciding to investigate, Izuku ran towards the source of the noise. XXXXXXXX. Turns out, the source of the noise was a massive crowd, consisting of almost everyone in town. Izuku made his way through the crowd, and his jaw dropped when he saw what it was the town was crowding around. In the center of the town, standing under the stature of the town founder and his Zigzagoon, was the champion of the region. All Might, ahahaha, greetings citizens, I am here, All Might shouted out, his deep voice, his figure loomed over the entire crowd, as he waved at everyone. All Might, Izuku was one of the many people screaming the champion's name. Izuku had idolized All Might and his Pokemon ever since he could remember. All the children did. He was undoubtedly the strongest champion in existence, and he used his great power to help the people of the region. He was admired by all, and all trainers aspired to be even half as strong as he was. Hello, people of this fair town. I have come here because of reports of a strange and dangerous Pokemon that has been causing trouble, All Might explained to the people. Mutters and whispers broke among the townspeople. A strange and dangerous Pokemon. I wonder what it is. Izuku couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and fear. On one hand, he would really like to see what Pokemon was powerful enough to warrant All Might's attention. On the other hand, that also sounded like an easy way to die. I would like for everyone to go home for the night, while I search for this Pokemon, All Might told everyone. Now, if you excuse me. All Might then took out a Pokeball and released his Golurk. I must be off. All Might hopped onto the massive Pokemon, as the Golurk retracted its arms and legs, and took off into the air like a rocket as fire exploded out of the holes. Izuku watched the powerful Pokemon and the champion rocketed off. The crowd then started muttering to each other, murmurs of fear, and talk of following All Might's advice. Slowly the people started to disperse, and Izuku figured that he should probably head home too. If All Might says it, then I should definitely listen, Izuku thought as he resumed walking home, now with a smile on his face. Still, I can't believe I got to see him in person. He's even bigger in real life than on TV. Izuku continued to think about All Might, taking his mind off his current lack of starter. However, as he made his way home, he passed the entrance to Route 1, the only way out of the town, and a place where various wild Pokemon could be found. Despite adults saying it was dangerous, he and the other kids had played there plenty of times, meeting all sorts of Pokemon. I should probably stay away from there for now, don't want to bump into that dangerous Pokemon, Izuku thought to himself as he walked past it. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw something pink and fury rustling around in the tall grass. A Pokemon. Izuku couldn't help but stop and stare at whatever was coming out of the grass. Slowly, but surely, a pink Eevee limped out of the grass, and into Izuku's sight. Whoa, an Eevee, Izuku exclaimed in excitement. And a pink one, not even shiny Eevee or pink. This must be some unique variant Pokemon. However, this turned out to be a mistake, as Izuku's shout caused the Eevee to jump a bit, wincing as it landed on its obviously injured leg, before hustling into the tall grass. Darn it, I'm such an idiot, Izuku chided himself, before thinking back to the Eevee. Wait, that Eevee looked injured. Could it have been that powerful Pokemon? Or maybe it was some poachers after it for their unique color. Wait, it could be in danger. And just like that, Izuku threw caution to the wind, and ran into the grass. XXXXXXXXX. Izuku ran into the woods that was Route 1, searching relentlessly for the pink Eevee. Come on, Please still be okay. Azuka walked around the woods, eventually reaching a cliffside where the pink Eevee was located, pawing at the wall as if trying to climb it. But with its injured leg, it wasn't going to get very far. Okay, Azuku, don't startle them. Be slow, calm, and serene, Azuku told himself as he slowly approached the clearly terrified Pokemon. Snap! Eevee looked at Azuku, and Azuku looked down and saw that he stepped on a twig. Darn it! The strangely colored Pokemon turned around, huddling against the cliffside looking at Azuku with fearful eyes. Hi! Azuku gave the Pokemon the friendliest smile he could muster and kneeled down to make himself look less threatening. I'm not here to hurt you. I want to help you. I can bring you to a Pokemon Center. They can heal you. The Eevee stayed where it was, however its eyes looked slightly less fearful. Azuku's smile became more genuine. Yes, progress. Just as Azuku was about to utter more reassuring words, however, he heard a masculine voice in his head. Finally, I've found you again. Suddenly Azuku got a chill down his spine, and he felt a threatening aura, right above him. He looked up, and saw a strange Pokemon, floating there using presumably psychic power. It was mostly white, with a long purple tail, cat-like but humanoid at the same time. It looked, off, not like any other Pokemon Azuku had seen before. And it exuded power like nothing Azuku had ever felt. The Pokemon glanced at him for a moment, before speaking in his head using telepathy. Child, I am Mewtwo, the most powerful Pokemon in existence. You have exactly 1 second to flee from that creature before I end it, and everything around it. It talked. Only one type of Pokemon could ever speak, at least consistently, and given their power, there was no doubt about it. This Mewtwo, was a legendary Pokemon. Most people would have done as Mewtwo said, and run away as fast as they could. And Azuku did just that, but not before scooping up the Eevee in his arms. Azuku ran as fast as he could with the shaking, terrified Eevee nestled against his chest. He made it a good distance too, but then suddenly in a flash of light, Mewtwo appeared in front of him, using teleport. Azuku quickly stopped and tried to turn and run the other way, before his body was covered in a purple aura, and was lifted off the ground. HMPH, Mewtwo raised its arm, opening its 3-fingered hand, and forming a ball of otherworldly, dark energy. Shadow Ball. If you wish to die with this Pokemon, then so be it. Azuku closed his eyes, and wrapped himself around the Eevee, hoping that somehow his body could shield it against an attack from such a powerful Pokemon, as Mewtwo threw the Shadow Ball at Azuku and Eevee. Cobalion, use Protect, shouted a familiar voice from the thicket. Suddenly, Cobalion burst out from the trees, running in front of Azuku, before erecting a rainbow-colored barrier. The Shadow Ball hit the barrier, exploding against it, but doing no damage. Azuku opened his eyes, and saw his legendary savior, standing in front of him valiantly. Cobalion, but then that means... It means that I am here. Azuku looked behind him, and saw the champion, All Might, standing there. Azuku watched as All Might walked in front of him, putting some distance between him and the violent legendary. Hey All Might, that's my name. All Might turned his head towards Azuku, giving him a thumbs up and a glimmering smile. Don't wear it out. Toshinori, pay attention to the battle at hand. This Pokemon. No, this thing. It exudes power like that of the ones spoken of in legends. Cobalion warned his trainer. So it's a legendary Pokemon, All Might surmised. This matter does not concern you. Mewtwo used Psychic to lift 3 nearby trees, uprooting them and bringing them into the air. Begone! Mewtwo threw the trees at Cobalion, who stood ready to counter the attack. Cobalion, Sacred Sword, All Might ordered. The black part of Cobalion's head glowed, as a blade grew out of it. Cobalion then used that blade to slash the trees apart, into tiny pieces. Now, use Air Slash. All Might followed up with another attack. Cobalion's sword glowed white, as it slashed the air, sending out a wave of razor-sharp air at Mewtwo. The attack landed, and Mewtwo was blown back a few feet. Grr! Mewtwo shook its head as it recovered from the attack. The attack hurt more than he had anticipated. He glared at Cobalion, before it created a purple ball of energy in its hand, and threw it at Cobalion. Enough. That's Aura Sphere, Azuku realized. Did he realize that Cobalion is a steel type? Cobalion, dodge and use Magnet Rise, All Might told his Pokemon. The leader of the Blades of Justice obeyed, jumping to the left to avoid the Aura Sphere before electricity started to crackle off of it, and Cobalion rose into the air, now at the same elevation as Mewtwo. Now use Aerial Ace, All Might ordered. Using the power of magnetism, Cobalion moved through the air, its sword glowing as it came towards Mewtwo with extraordinary speed. Just as Cobalion reached Mewtwo and was about to slash it, Mewtwo teleported behind Cobalion and raised its hand to charge up a big blue ball of energy. That's Focus Blast, Azuku noted, and at that range, there is no way it can miss. All Might's face showed no worry whatsoever though. Protect! A barrier of rainbow energy formed around Cobalion as Mewtwo slammed the attack into it, causing an explosion. But when the smoke died down, Cobalion was just fine, its Protect having completely nullified the attack. Now, counterattack with Megahorn, All Might said. Cobalion's sword grew out of its head once more, but this time it was bright green, as he quickly turned his head, and slashed Mewtwo behind him. Gah! Mewtwo was knocked down onto the ground by the strong, super effective attack, creating a crater from just how strong the impact was. Now Air Slash, on repeat, All Might said, not giving Mewtwo a moment to rest. Cobalion's sword glowed white, as it unleashed a barrage of air slashes at the Psychic Legendary. Mewtwo used Protect, creating a barrier to defend against the attacks, before using Psychic, covering Cobalion in a purple aura, before he slammed him into the ground. Cobalion winced in pain as it was smashed into the dirt. Mewtwo, thinking this was an effective strategy, raised its arm, using Psychic to lift Cobalion high into the air, before bringing it back down. Metal Burst, All Might shouted before Cobalion hit the ground. Cobalion's body glowed before it suddenly became covered in metal, and when it hit the ground, the metal broke apart off of its body and flew at Mewtwo. Gah! Mewtwo shouted out in pain as the metal shrapnel hit its body, doing almost twice the damage his own attack did. This freed Cobalion from his hold, as the Steel, fighting type, got to his feet. Now use Poison Jab, All Might shouted. Cobalion charged towards Mewtwo, its hooves growing purple, before smacking Mewtwo repeatedly with them. Gah! Mewtwo was knocked back a bit before it turned back to Cobalion with a look of smoldering anger in his eyes. The Psychic type raised its hand, and then suddenly the ground began to rumble, disrupting Cobalion's balance before it was suddenly hit by the ground rising up around him. Earthquake. Izuku recognized the move. Bal. Cobalion was knocked back by the super effective move, as it started breathing heavily, its body having some visible wounds on it now. To do that much damage to Cobalion, and to take this many hits for that matter, this Pokemon is far too powerful and violent to be left alone. I have to catch it, All Might thought. Cobalion used Magnet Rise. Cobalion's body crackled with electricity, and just as he was about to get into the air, Mewtwo's body suddenly emitted a black, swirling energy, and Cobalion was immediately forced back down to the ground. But it wasn't just Cobalion, everyone in the area suddenly felt a mysterious pressure weighing down on them. This is gravity, Izuku said as he noticed the Eevee trembling in his arms. Hey, it's gonna be okay. Eevee looked up at Izuku, as he managed to give the strangely colored Pokemon a calming smile. All Might is here, so everything is going to be alright, Izuku told the Pokemon, as they looked up to him with wide eyes, shimmering with hope. All Might smiled hearing everything Izuku just said. That's right, young man, there is no need to worry, I'll take care of this in just a moment. HMPH, fools, Mewtwo raised its arm, as it unleashed another earthquake at Cobalion. Protect, All Might called out. Cobalion used Protect once more, shielding itself from the earthquake, but as soon as the move went down, Mewtwo's body glowed white for a moment. That was Disable, wasn't it? All Might grit his teeth, knowing that without Protect and Magnet Rise his options for dealing with ground-type moves were limited. Cobalion use Smart Strike. Cobalion's body glowed with Steel-type energy, as it charged at Mewtwo at lightning-fast speed. Mewtwo teleported a few feet away, but Cobalion course-corrected immediately, and crashed right into the Psychic type, hitting it in the stomach. Mewtwo gasped as it got hit hard, but ultimately, it toughed it out, and grabbed Cobalion by the neck, before raising its arm, and creating a Focus Blast. Seeing where this was going, All Might called out Cobalion's next move, Metal Burst. Cobalion covered himself in steel once more, as Mewtwo hit him with a point blank. Boom! There was a big explosion, forcing All Might, Izuku, and Eevee to look away and cover their eyes for a moment before it started to die down. When the smoke cleared, Mewtwo was on one knee, heavily injured, and Cobalion was on the ground. Cobalion, All Might shouted out in both shock and concern. He knocked out Cobalion, but that's All Might's ace. Izuku was beyond shocked. He was stupefied, completely stunned. How could this Pokemon be so powerful? All Might grit his teeth, as he picked up Cobalion's Pokeball. The Pokeball shot out a red beam that engulfed Cobalion, making him turn red and bringing him back into the Pokeball. Mewtwo meanwhile was getting back up on his feet, wincing from the pain. Damn you, to make me go so far. Then, Mewtwo's body was covered in a green healing aura, as some of its wounds started to mend. Recover, Izuku shouted out in fear. It had taken so much effort from All Might's ace to damage Mewtwo this much, and now it was healing. All Might showed the same concern, as he quickly brought out another Pokemon. Come out, Golurk. Lurk, the giant ghost ground Pokemon, came out, causing the ground to shake a bit from his sheer size and power. Mewtwo growled as he formed a shadow ball and threw it at Golurk. Phantom Force, All Might called out. A shadowy portal formed underneath Golurk, and it disappeared into it, as the shadow ball flew right past it. Mewtwo looked around, wondering where on earth the massive Pokemon had disappeared to, but deciding it was better safe than sorry, Mewtwo used Protect. putting up a barrier around himself. Unfortunately for him, however, that didn't help as a shadowy portal opened up inside the barrier, and Golurk punched Mewtwo right in the face, dispelling the Protect, and sending Mewtwo flying into a tree. "Now follow up with Darkest Lariat," All Might ordered. Golurk cried as it stomped towards Mewtwo, spinning around with its arms out, Dark-type energy surrounding it. Mewtwo saw this and teleported into the sky before the attack could hit. Gravity must have worn off, All Might said as he saw Mewtwo use Recover while in the sky. "Let's fix that." Golurk used Gravity. Lurk, a dark swirl surrounded Golurk, as everything became heavier once again, and Mewtwo fell to the ground, landing on his feet. Mewtwo teleported behind Golurk and formed a shadow ball. But before Mewtwo could land the attack, All Might gave Golurk an order, Earthquake. Golurk stomped the ground, causing it to shake and rumble, making Mewtwo lose his footing, and shooting the shadow ball away from Golurk before the ground rose up and smacked him. "Now use Heavy Slam," All Might ordered. A steel-grey aura surrounded Golurk, as he fell backward, in an attempt to crush Mewtwo. But Mewtwo used Teleport and moved a few yards away to avoid the attack. And with Golurk on the ground, Mewtwo decided now was the perfect time to throw another shadow ball. "Phantom Force," All Might shouted. Golurk didn't even get up, the shadow portal just formed under him and he sank into it, causing the shadow ball to only hit the dirt. Grr, it was obvious that the longer the battle went on the more pissed off Mewtwo became. A shadowy portal opened behind Mewtwo, and Golurk was about to attack Mewtwo, but Mewtwo suddenly glowed blue, and dashed away, at astonishing speeds. Agility, Izuku thought. Golurk's fist hit the ground, and Mewtwo with its increased speed moved behind Golurk and shot out a shadow ball right at Golurk's back. "Lurk!" Golurk shouted out in pain as it stumbled forward, the super effective move doing significant damage to the Pokémon. Mewtwo then followed up by using Disable, keeping Golurk from using Phantom Force again. "Damn it! Without Phantom Force, Golurk has no way to get around his mobility," All Might thought, as he quickly tried to figure out his next move. Mewtwo didn't give him much time though, as he had already formed two shadow balls and shot them at Golurk. "Darkest Lariat," All Might ordered. Golurk spun around, its fist colliding with the shadow balls, destroying them. "Now use Gravity again," All Might ordered, figuring that the effect must have worn off by now. Dark spiraling energy surrounded Golurk as gravity was once again renewed. Mewtwo then raised its arm, and suddenly giant green energy in the shape of grass came out and smacked Golurk. Lurk! Golurk was thrown back a few feet, landing on the ground, heavily damaged, but not yet out. That was Grass Knot. Not only is that super effective, but against a Pokemon like Golurk, it's basically ultra effective, Izuku thought to himself, as he saw the huge Pokemon struggle to get back up. He did so much damage and only landed 2 attacks. They were both super effective, but still, that's insane. But then he took a look at Mewtwo. It was heavily damaged and wounded. If it weren't for those recovers, then it definitely still wouldn't be standing right now. Izuku looked down to the Eevee. "Look, he's almost down, and All Might still has 5 Pokemon. Don't worry." Eevee responded, still looking worriedly at the battle. "Golurk, return." All Might brought out Golurk's Pokeball, and returned the Pokemon, before looking down at it and smiling. "You did wonderfully. Take a rest now." Then, the champion brought out another Pokeball. "Come out, Haxorus." All Might opened the ball, and out came the axe-headed dragon-type Pokemon. First impression, All Might called out. Suddenly, Haxorus sprinted at Mewtwo, at astonishing speeds, its axe head glowing with green bug-type energy, before he smacked Mewtwo aside. "Ah!" Mewtwo shouted out in pain. "Now, Dragon Dance," All Might said. Haxorus stomped around, as purple energy swirled around him, increasing his speed and attack power simultaneously. Mewtwo had gotten to his feet, and used Recover, healing a bit of the damage done to him. "Now use Scary Face," All Might said. Roos! Haxorus's face glowed red, as an intimidating aura was unleashed at Mewtwo, causing his speed to drop a bit, but since he used Agility earlier he was still faster than he was originally, but not as much. Mewtwo opened his mouth, as icy energy formed in it, before unleashing an Ice Beam at Haxorus. "Protect, and then use Scary Face," All Might said. Haxorus put up that same rainbow barrier, which the Ice Beam hit, doing nothing, and once that was done and the barrier was down, Haxorus's face was once again covered in a red intimidating aura, lowering Mewtwo's speed back down to where it was originally. Mewtwo used Disable, getting rid of Haxorus's ability to use Scary Face for now. Dragon Dance, All Might ordered. Once again Haxorus performed his dance, increasing his attack and speed even more. As Haxorus was doing this, Mewtwo brought his hands together, and formed an extremely powerful ball of cold energy, before unleashing it as a massive blast of cold heading right at the dancing Haxorus. "Protect," All Might called out. The second Haxorus finished its dance, it used Protect, barely managing to get it up in time, as the blizzard hit it, doing no damage. "Now, use Rock Slide," All Might shouted. Roos, Haxorus roared, as suddenly rocks appeared out of midair and fell down on Mewtwo. Mewtwo jumped backward, avoiding the rocks as they fell, putting more distance between the two Pokémon. Now use Dragon Dance, All Might said. Haxorus once again did its power-up dance, as Mewtwo used Psychic to toss the boulders aside. Wow, he used Rock Slide to buy time for Haxorus to use Dragon Dance without being attacked again, Izuku thought, looking at All Might with stars in his eyes. Now use Night Slash, All Might ordered. Haxorus's axe head glowed with dark energy, as it charged at Mewtwo so fast that Izuku could barely see it move. The boosted Pokémon slashed Mewtwo's chest, causing him to go flying once again, rolling across the dirt until he came to a stop. Damn you, Mewtwo used Recover, but immediately afterward he gasped in pain. Well, it looks like it's finally time, All Might smiled. The poison is finally outperforming your healing. Izuku had a confused look on his face after that was said. Poison? When did he? Oh right, Cobalin's poison jab. That attack must have poisoned him. You did a good job hiding it, but I'm no rookie. I can tell that your Recover was becoming less and less effective over time, All Might told the Pokémon, as he brought out an Ultra Ball. Now, it's time to finish this, Haxorus. No, I will not be caught, Mewtwo said telepathically, before sparing Izuku or rather, Eevee one last glare. I have no further need to challenge you. I have already proven myself superior. I have bigger issues now. And with that, Mewtwo teleported away. Where did he go? Izuku looked around frantically, afraid that Mewtwo may pop out anywhere and attack. He's gone. From the sound of it he knew he was beaten and chose to run away rather than being caught. All Might surmised, as his Haxorus walked up to him. The champion pet the dragon type, getting some happy noises from the axe-faced Pokémon. Good job Haxorus, you did well. Or, Haxorus said happily, before All Might returned them to their Pokeball, before turning to Izuku. Young man, what on earth were you thinking? If I recall correctly, I told everyone that there was a dangerous Pokémon lurking around, and told them to stay home until I handled it. Izuku looked down at Eevee. I found this EVA and they were hurt. All Might looked down at the Eevee. Eevee looked up at All Might curiously, most of the fear having left him seemingly once Mewtwo fled. I see. Well then, I will accompany you to a Pokémon Center, All Might told the young boy, picking him up off the ground. And once we get that sorted out, we'll continue this conversation further. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to Voiceverse Productions for more thrilling crossovers and immersive storytelling. And remember to ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest adventures. Until next time, trainers and heroes, keep chasing your dreams and reaching for the stars. See you in the next chapter.